Hello, my friends. Hello, hello. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for joining me today on the Outstanding Life Show. My name is Jason, and in this show, we talk about recovery. We talk about mindfulness. We talk about overcoming adversity when it's related to addiction. It's such a big topic that there's many different sides to it, especially when it comes from a mental health perspective. Mental health for you might look very different than, say, mental health for me. But it's also, and on the flip side, there's different challenges. Um, there's different ways where the same challenges for you may not be the same challenges for me. It doesn't take away that the challenges exist, but we've talked before in yesterday's episode. If you caught that, that's awesome. But if you didn't, we talked about reframing, and it wasn't something as simple as just saying, "Well, just go and change your mindset. Just put on a happy face and put your rose-colored glasses on and just mosey your way through life, white knuckle your way through life." These are things that they're survival techniques, but they're not long-lasting techniques. So if you're new here, we don't focus on the short term. One of the things we talk about is forming new habits, forming an A team of our own, forming I almost want to call it an accountability where we shake off the excuses, we shake off that. I almost want to call it like, when you have a New Year's resolution and you're getting ready to shake the previous year off and you're getting ready to embrace the new year. And you always have these, I don't know about you, if you can relate to this or not, but I'll have a list of goals, and all the goals that I thought I would have needed for 2020 have kind of been kiboshed or thrown to the wayside, or they've been expedited, or they've been put to the side. It doesn't mean that those goals were not important, but I've had to adjust. I've had to pivot. I've had to, if there's one buzzword that's been popular this year is pivoting. Just like in Ross in Friends, where he talks about pivoting the couch, just trying to get it up the stairs or down the stairs. These are things where 2020 has been nothing but one whole pivot session. It's one big long couch where it's so big, so massive, and this hallway is far too small. We're running out of 2020, and the buzzword of pivot, it's kind of become more synonymous with, when I think of Friends and I think of the word pivot, like immediately, like when somebody says the word pivot, I immediately go to that Friends episode. My mind has mapped that word to that scene. And so these buzzwords, and that's what today's topic is about the buzzwords when it comes to recovery, when it comes to mindfulness, when it comes to addiction. And there are some buzzwords that, for me, have anchored it to these experiences, and it's anchored to these lessons. And in a couple episodes ago, we chatted about my experience by going to this Tony Robbins event. I went to New York City with my best friend. He had this idea, and he's like, "Jason, you know what we should do? We should hop on a plane and go to New York and then walk on fire. It's going to be amazing." And I was like, can I do everything but the fire walking? Like, is that an option? Like, can I just skip the fire walking? Because what if I don't want to walk on fire? Is that okay? Is Tony Robbins going to be upset at me? And he's like, "Oh yeah, well no, you can just come and then it'll be fun." And then I get there and the whole environment is nothing but, it's filled with go-getters and action-oriented people and people that are living the best life, and they're operating at such a high level of efficiency, like they're burning the lean fuel into the night. And then here I am trying to find a way to not walk on fire, trying to find my way to get out of it. And so Tony Robbins, he would talk about, sometimes you need to burn the boats in order for you to storm the beach. And just hearing that anchors me back to that experience. Burning the boats for me is synonymous with letting go. And for me, the idea of moving forward and accepting 2020 for what it is means I'm going to have to let go of 2019. It means I'm going to have to let go of Jason, who's 17 years old. I'm going to need to, in order for me to make room in my life for 2021, that's what I'm getting to here, is I need to be willing, open and willing to let go of 2020, despite how crazy and long lasting it is. It feels like it's been a whole decade already. And we still have like 2 more months, 3 more months to go. You know, we can do it, guys. I believe, you know, if we've made it this far, I'm sure we can push through 3 more years. I'm comfortable and I'm confident in our ability to manage the craziness that is thrown at us and how challenging things might be. There's some very horrible things that happened in 2020, but there's some also amazing things that have happened in 2020. I've become closer with my friends. I've become more adaptable. I've become more fluid. I've been able to pivot, getting back to the buzzwords. So despite how crazy this is, it's shown me how resilient I am. And we've talked about resilience before, and I think it was about 3 episodes ago where we talked about having that dynamic elasticity. If it's something you're interested in, you want to learn more, definitely go check out that episode. It was one of my favorites. But focusing on the buzzwords. One person reached out to me and she mentioned she thought it was hilarious, the acronym I was using before. And the acronym is the word HALT, HALT. And we referenced it to we talked about mapping emotions before, and I just alluded to it just in passing. I was like, well, you got to make sure you're halting that emotion. You're making sure that you're doing your corner of health. I almost want to call it healthcare, but like mental health, I have to stop. And for me, I have to make sure that I'm not hungry, and I'm not going to be angry, and I'm not going to be, what are the other letters? HALT. I'm not going to be lonely, and I'm not going to be tired. And so the acronym of HALT is HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And have you ever seen that Joe Pesci commercial where he's really angry and then somebody gives him a Snickers bar and then he turns into like a ballerina? And then I think that's hilarious because there's times where I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling resentful, I'm feeling negative. And in the past, we've mentioned the benefits of mapping our emotions and helping to understand what part of us is feeling a certain way. But there's certain core foundations, a handful of things I can do preemptively to help mitigate these emotions from erupting or from breeding them or from accidentally finding myself in a situation where, you know, if personally, if I speak and I give an example, I've moved into the world of meal prepping, and I didn't think it was that big when I first started doing it. But as soon as I started meal prepping and I really put my mind to it, I started looking up ways and like life hacks and more efficient ways of doing it. And I accidentally found myself in a predicament where I was out and I was like, I did a meal prep of four meals. You know, it's Sunday, you meal prep for 4 days, and you're going to have meals for 4 days. It's going to be good. You can't go wrong. Make some rice, throw some chicken on there, a little bit of veggies, and that's it. You're solid. Put in some spice, a little bit of sauce, boom, right there. Like, what is it? Chef Ramsay? Like, boom. Well, that's not Chef Ramsay. That's Emerald. But you get what I'm talking about, where it's easy to accomplish 4 meals. Who can't do 4 meals? I mean, come on. Like a whole pizza is at least 4 meals. Or it should be at least. But if by doing meal prepping, I did my 4 meals and I knocked it out of the park. It was an easy milestone to hit. I was able to hit that 4 meals without even putting a lot of effort into it. And then I was like, well, if I can do 4 meals, I'll bet you I could do 10. And then I did 10 meals. Easy peasy, no questions asked. I had to buy more ingredients, but I wasn't too bad. You just double your ingredients, you're fine. And then some time passed. And I thought to myself, you know what, Jason? You did 4 meals. You did 10. You know what you could do? You could almost, you could do 20 meals. What would 20 meals look like? And I was like, okay. Well, if I'm going to be doing 20 meals, I'm going to need a big planner. I'm going to need an itemized list. I'm going to need to get serious. I'm going to need probably a Google list tracker or like some sort of organizing capability. A piece of paper and a pen probably isn't going to cut it. And so I did a combination of both. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. How many sauces do I need? What about the pepper? And I organized all this stuff. And I decided, well, I'm going to take my 20, I'm going to double it. And I'm going to take my recipes of 10, maybe come up with 4 different things. It'll be fine. It'll be good. I'll double the ingredients and that should be fine. And then I'm out shopping and then I got this list and I'm going through the shopping and I'm adding things to the cart. And then the idea in my head is, what you should do, Jason, is don't forget you're doing, you're doubling. So you got to make sure you're grabbing twice as much. I hope you can hear where this is going. And so I'm out shopping and I'm buying double the ingredients after I had already doubled what my list was, putting it down on the list. So everything that was written down on the list was already doubled. But because I didn't have a system, or because I didn't have a flow, and because I didn't make the note of you've already doubled the ingredients, when I was shopping, guess what I did? I bought another double of all the ingredients. So when I thought I was making 20 meals, I'm in the middle of bagging my protein up. I'm in the middle of chopping up my veggies, and I realize I still have half of my ingredients, but I filled up all my bags and I've got all this protein out. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm super tired. And I am not even halfway through. And I had 40 meals of food that I had. And there's no room in the fridge. I didn't plan for this out. I didn't have a big fridge. So now I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? Do I throw it all away? No. That's where you become really creative. When I thought I was making 20 meals, I was making 40. And I had to break apart the food. I had to organize them into subcategories. And I was like, you know what? I'm spending most of my time bagging up the sauces and the spices along with what's going in the bags, like the veggies and the protein. Because I was going to put them in the freezer. And then I could take them out of the freezer and then put them in the slow cooker. So then I was like, I'm going to need to have one big Ziploc bag and have all the protein and the veggies in there. But I'm going to skip the spices and the sauces. And I'm just going to go ahead and bag just the protein and the veggies. Then when I go to add it in the slow cooker, there's a base of the protein and there's a base of the veggies. And then I customize the sauces when I add them in. So it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm breaking through and I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I plow through the rest of my 20 meals and I pop them out. I'm in bed at 1 a.m. I'm tired.
Sorry, I can't do that yet.
Oh man, that was scary. I think it was Alexa. She scared me. I forgot I had her turned on. It's hilarious. I was chatting and I was super tired at 1 a.m., but I had accomplished what I set out to do. I bagged my meals, and those meals lasted 40 meals. No lie, they put me through it. But what I learned from that, though, is I was able to then take what I learned and move it into my next order of meal prepping, where I now deliberately separated my protein away from my veggies. So I buy all my proteins separately than my veggies, but I prepare them at different times, but I freeze them at different times. And then when I want to have a hot meal, I just throw them in the slow cooker. I take out a bag of frozen veggies that are chopped up and prepared for the slow cooker. And then I've got my protein already ready to go. So I don't have to worry about buying the food all at the same time. Whenever veggies are on sale, I buy veggies. And protein's on sale, I buy protein. So by organizing that, by getting that list up and running, I've been able to help streamline my meal prepping. What I mean by all this, when I didn't meal prep, when I didn't plan out my food, the amount of times I ordered pizza, the amount of times I went to Subway, the amount of times I would go out for a nice fancy dinner and then I'd be broke at the end of the week going out so many times. So there's all these drawbacks from not having my meals prepared. I've learned that if I put all this hard work in early, that reduces the chance of random pizza nights down the road. And pizza nights are going to happen no matter what. But what I don't do is I don't let my hunger make decisions for me. I don't let my anger make decisions for me. I recognize that I'm hungry. I recognize that I'm angry, but I don't make rash knee-jerk reactions in those moments. I don't let my loneliness make decisions for me. I don't let tired, the idea of being tired, the body being tired. If I'm feeling lonely and I'm about to make a purchase on Amazon Prime Day or Black Friday, those are really big days for shopping. But if I'm out and I'm feeling lonely and sad and my mood isn't 100% and I recognize that my mood is off, or I'm feeling anxious, or if I'm feeling hangry, then that might not be the best time to make a purchase decision. That might not be the best time. Maybe you shouldn't be texting that person at that late. You know what I mean? If I put all these effort into place early, I don't have to worry about these random angry moments, or I don't have to worry about putting the pressure on me where if I'm sitting there and it's 9 o'clock at night and I don't have any meals prepared and it's my Friday night, it's a long weekend. I'm like, I might as well just order food. I don't want to cook anything. I know myself. I know I'm going to do that. So future Jason's going to be thankful that I spent 2 hours on a Sunday doing my meal prep for the week. And now I've organized my meals where I'll do frozen Ziploc bags of all my veggies, and I can make 20. I can make 20 frozen Ziploc bags, and each bag contains it's 6 to 8 meals. And there's 20 of these bags, and they go in the freezer, and then I just take them out. And when I want something different, I've got a schedule. I've got an itemized rotation in between. And then if something goes on sale, I can buy it with confidence and know that it's going to fit into the rotation. So by planning this far out in advance, by organizing my life and including meal prep as a part of that solution, that's removed the hungry Jason from making decisions. That removes the Danny DeVito random factor in my life. Jason still gets hungry, don't get me wrong, and I still eat pizza. I love pizza. I even love tacos. Tacos are even... But that's the hungry component of HALT and HALT. So if I move into the hungry and then angry, those are almost two things together. But if how do you mitigate anger? Like, can you just remove anger from your life? No, there's no way you can just remove anger. But anger, Tony Robbins would say, anger is more of it's what we've attached to it. It's how we've chosen to respond to an event. And anger can be just, and anger can be true. But is that the true emotion we're feeling? Is it because I'm feeling frustrated? Is it because I'm feeling upset or let down? Or if I'm feeling inadequate? and then my response to that inadequacy is anger, what part of me is being triggered here in this moment? And we've talked before about triggers, but I think we might have a focus on triggers in a future episode. But when it comes to anger, we mentioned earlier the same thing for you isn't the same thing for me. And that can relate to anger as well. What sets me off, what pushes my buttons can definitely push your buttons too, but what pushes your buttons might not push my buttons. Understanding and having an open mind as to what those triggers are can help. What I'm saying is identifying what those triggers are can help. Once we start mapping our emotions, which we've talked about before, we can see the underlying emotion that's being triggered. So if I know I'm feeling a certain way, what is causing me to feel that way? And is it my response that I'm adding to it? Is it my rationale? Is it because I'm internalizing it this in a specific way? Is there another way to internalize it? Is that the only way? Is my perception the only way of absorbing a situation? And if there is another way, if I was wrong, how would I be wrong? And so these are not to like throw it into a mind complex, but these questions have helped prepare me to identify that yes, I can be feeling anger, but I'm not going to let that anger make decisions for me. I'm not going to let anger run the show. I'm not going to let anger drive the bus, for lack of a better word. I'm not going to be hangry, and I'm not going to go up buying groceries when I'm hangry. Because of these processes I've put in place, because of these ideas, I've built this foundation where I don't let my when my food rotation gets below 1 month, like when I'm running into less than a month's worth of food, that's when I'm start to panic. That's when I'm like, oh man, I've only got a month worth of food. I better start planning my next meal prep session coming up quick. Because what am I going to do? And that fear for me drives me and it moves me forward to like want to go and search for food, get all this organized. Because I don't want hangry Jason to make a decision. I don't want, buying pizza is not going to break the bank. But if I'm having a cheat day 7 days a week, if I'm ordering out 20 times a month, that's going to add up. I'm going to be broke, Jason, who's going to be hangry on top of like all of these things are stressors and they're going to add up and if I have to make a decision based out of stress, things, that can't be good. And that can't be something that's healthy, or it's not going to build happiness in me if it adds pressure. A little bit of pressure is fine. That's where we get our resilience from. That's where we get our balance. But if I'm making decisions out of hunger or angry, and the next letter in the acronym of HALT is loneliness. If I'm making a decision out of lonely, if I'm feeling raw right now, if I'm feeling open or vulnerable, and we haven't talked too much about vulnerability so far, but vulnerability is key. Like, it's good to be vulnerable. It's good to be open. Once we start opening that, I almost want to call it, once you start opening your chakra, once you start opening that part and you get that exercise of being open and honest and true to your core self, to your friends and your family, being, making sure your compass is facing north, your moral compass. These are all things that can add a huge benefit to your life. The fear in that is in the beginning when we're just opening up, when we're feeling that sense of vulnerability, there's that risk of not feeling validation and not feeling that sense of reciprocity. And if I don't want to call it consistently opening up, and if I'm not getting that validation back, or if I'm not being recognized or supported, there you go. That's the key word. If I'm not feeling supported, I might make a decision out of loneliness, and that decision to gain fulfillment, to gain, almost like as if I'm trading in, what was it, a couple of days ago, I mentioned every time there was a new iPad, I would go and buy the new iPad. Like year over year, every year they came out with a new iPad, I would buy a new iPad in hopes that it would make me more happier than the last year's iPad. How many iPads did I buy before I realized, they're not going to make me happy. They're not going to fulfill my destiny. They're not going to recharge my spiritual energy, or I'm not going to be suddenly rejuvenated because of an iPad. But what part of me was making the buying decision at that time? Was it because I was feeling inadequate? Was it because I was feeling tired? If I'm doing these things at a habit, is that habit a healthy habit? We open up that conversation to being a bit further where, what if it's something much deeper than that? I can stay in bad relationships, or I can have a gambling addiction, or I can have an alcohol problem. And if I'm making a decision to continue to consume these substances out of habit, is that truly healthy? Is that truly serving me? Is that serving others? Is that serving the greater good? And while, yes, there are iPads out there, yes, there are alcohol drinks you can buy, but am I choosing to be in an unfulfilling relationship because I don't want to feel lonely? Am I making the decision to avoid something out of fear of loneliness? And these are real motivate. Like, these are raw emotions that we open ourselves up to when we start being vulnerable. And there is a chance where, if left unchecked, that vulnerability can be taking advantage of. Marketing by themselves, like even today, like there's a bazillion marketing gurus out there who are trying to sell you a million things. And I'm not saying those are bad things. I'm not saying they're bad iPads. I mean, there's amazing iPads out there now. But I've given up buying everything out of knee-jerk reactions. There's a part of me now that starts to appreciate, the spiritual void that I had in my life wasn't being fulfilled through alcohol, through iPads, or bad relationships. These are things that it's taken countless iPads and bad relationships before I was willing to, like, being open to the idea that I was wrong, being open to the idea that I was making a mistake. And at least I'm here now where I can help shift that into something much more productive. At least I'm in a position now where I can carve a new fate. I've got more of a solid foundation now where I can trust my decisions, and I can feel confident and comfortable with who I am and with where I am. And maybe that doesn't include alcohol. Maybe that doesn't include an iPad or a relationship or a million other things. But that's the loneliness. That's, the driver of loneliness. I could go on forever. The last letter in the acronym of HALT is tired. So if I'm feeling tired, if I'm feeling grouchy, if I'm feeling a little bit of drained energy, there's a part of me that wonders if it's if that's out of response of not getting enough sleep. And I've come to know myself where I am a night owl. I'm just a nocturnal person. So I am most awake in the nighttime. And it takes me a cup of coffee or two to get fired on all cylinders. But if it comes to feeling tired, if I'm not getting that sleep, when I wake up in the morning, some of the things you need to be sharp. And there are some tasks that require you to be of sound in mind and be on your ball. And it requires me to make sure I'm getting my sleep. And if I'm not getting a certain amount of sleep, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to feel drained and I'm going to feel tired. And if I'm making decisions out of feeling tired, no good has come from me feeling tired. No good has come from me being under lack of. No good has come from me feeling hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And if I let these guiding principles decide my fate in life, I'm going to be really grouchy. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be upset. I'm probably going to get bitter. I'm probably not going to have a close friendship circle. No one's going to want to spend time with me. I think like my family's going to like, oh my God, Jason's calling again. So these are things where, are they the solution by themselves? You know, is meal prepping going to solve and take away everything? No, it's not. So is making sure I'm not feeling lonely or angry. Like, but in balance of all these, by putting effort into one area, it definitely helps. But when I spend 90% of my day in looking after those things by preventing being hungry, by not being, I don't say not being angry, by making sure I'm not being angry, by mapping my emotions and appreciating what part of me is feeling those emotions. If I can take a minute and take a step back to focus then on that loneliness component where maybe I need to reach out to a friend and let them know what I'm thinking. Maybe I need to reach out to my friend and let them know I'm thinking about them. Maybe I can recharge my batteries by helping other people recharge theirs. And maybe that will help me not have that sense of loneliness through contribution. So here is where moving into the territory of feeling tired, if I've put all of my effort into doing these things, what is it that I can do to make sure I'm feeling tired at the end of the day? This allows me to ensure that I'm going to get the proper amount of sleep. So if I tire myself during the day so that I am tired at the end of the day, then I'm going to be going to bed. And maybe, I'm not waking up at 6 a.m. I'm not getting up as a spring chicken. In this new world, I still get to sleep in a bit, but I'm not going to be depriving myself of sleep, because I know that as soon as I do that, there's that chance where one thing will cascade to another. And if I'm feeling tired, I don't want to meal prep. And if I don't want to meal prep, I'm probably not going to reach out to my friend because I'm hungry. And if I'm feeling angry and tired, like these things can cascade and bump into each other. So if I take a minute and appreciate that one thing by itself isn't going to solve it, but if I take the effort and put it in, and I'm willing to burn lean fuel into the night to make sure I'm looking after my meal prep, reaching out to my friends, understanding my emotions, not letting my emotions just like drive the bus. And if I make sure I'm getting the proper amount of sleep, despite how silly these buzzwords sound, it's definitely something that's helped me. Anyways, my friends, thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Every day I am trying something new. Every day I am pushing my comfort level. And this podcast, these videos are almost, I almost want to call it an experiment, but it's something I'm enjoying. It's something I'm having fun with. And I'm learning every day and I'm trying something new. Today, I wanted to show you, hold on, I'm going to share my screen. If you're watching, I have on the link, I have a link on the screen and it's sobriety.live/now. And this is a link that brings you to, hold on, I'm just going to take this. There we go. And so if you go to sobriety.live/now, and this brings you to, in case you're a podcast listener or you want to listen to the podcast, there's a link to the podcast. If you're listening to the podcast and you say, I want to watch the videos that Jason keeps talking about, well, there's the link to the videos. I have a video guide here as well in case you want to peruse through some guides or some videos. And if you're a blog kind of person, you just want to read, the blog and the links are all here as well. So I've got the written form, I've got the audio form, and I've got the video form. It's taking me a while to kind of get all this set up, but I'm really having a lot of fun with it. If you're a person that enjoys meditation, I've got a free link here. It costs you nothing to sign up. It's 30 days of calm.com. This is a legitimate guest pass that they've sent out. So I get no credit from this or anything. But 30daysofcalm.com is pretty awesome. There's also Coursera certificates. This is my most number one clicked on link, Coursera certificate, because they're offering free courses between now and the end of the year. And some of the courses are pretty deep and wide, but there's a whole category of mental health, and they're taught by amazing professionals that I've taken a few of them already. It's really awesome. If you're more of a meditation kind of a person, there's a group called peaceinside.live, and they do live meditations where you can join by a Zoom meeting, and it's all pay by donation, sorry. And you can join in on these meditations that are held live. And they do it every day too. And then here are some hot links that I've got about from my blog. This one is how I became an addict. And then I've also got some social links down below as well. In the meantime, friends, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for hanging out and being cool. I really appreciate that. You guys have stuck with me through this, and it's been a learning adventure. I hope to share more. I do want to talk about a couple more topics, but I'll save that for another day. If you enjoyed this, let me know. Put the hearts, put the stars, share them, put the comments out. In the meantime, my friends, you take care, you have fun, and I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.